something like that. Key up here, row of switches, room for more switches, all of the switches. Now, time to make it out of something that's not cardboard. Got my switch panel made here. Now I just have to make some mounting brackets. So what I've got is a little punch out from the Piranha with a hole drilled and tapped in it. And I used a large one here so that it would reach the sides where I can weld it. I just have to grind it down a little bit so it fits in there. And then tack it in place, which the tacking it in place part's gonna be the hardest part. Now I just gotta drill a hole here for the ignition, and then we'll be that much closer to completion. Look at that. Would you just look at that? To keep this from spinning around in there, it has a little knob there that'll go through the hole and be located. So, die grinder time! Another thing we gotta mount here is the winch control button. Switch panel is installed, and so is the winch switch. Important to label everything so that everybody knows what it is. Next up on the list of things to be mounted is the power steering computer. I will just drill a large hole through the frame here, put a sleeve through each one and weld the sleeve in place, and then I'll just have a longer bolt. It'll just go through from the back side, like so, straight into that. It'll be stronger than necessary by a lot, and it won't be in the way of anything. So I got my sleeves bolted onto there loosely so they have a little bit of play. And I got the holes drilled. Slide that in there. And then I've got just a little piece of scrap here to space it out so that it doesn't, so it's not all the way tight against there, just for, wouldn't want it to like warp as it tries to, when you bolt it tight. Let's see if I can get in there and weld it. Got the sleeves welded in. I've made things with far more difficult to reach bolts, so I'd say overall 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10.
That's a solid pass.
That's not going anywhere. This may be a bit of an overstatement, but I'd go so far as to say that might be one of the most solidly mounted computers in the history of mounting computers onto Power Wheels.
This video is proudly sponsored by our favorite overlanding partner, Jackery. We got our first Jackery in the spring. We've been using it all winter. Super portable, super easy. The Jackery Explorer series comes in all different kinds of sizes. If you want one big enough to run your refrigerator, run your garage, whatever you need, they have a size that works for you. You can set this thing up really quick, and even if you don't have sun, you can plug it into the wall and charge it for when the power goes out. We have it charging the battery for the Tacoma, charging the drone batteries, and a high-powered grinder, all at the same time, and the output can do twice this much. Jackery's Canadian website just went live, so to celebrate, they're giving our viewers 10% off. So click our link in the description, check out which Jackery product you think is best for you, and get 10% off. Special thanks to Jackery for sponsoring this video.
So I need a little tab to hold this thing onto the frame. This holds the starter solenoid. So I made this. Again, eyeball city. That's the theme for the day, is me eyeballing things. And look at that. So the little ears will hold it on. Obviously it'll be welded on this side, so actually getting on and off will be a little more of a struggle. But yeah, there you go. Got 2 more of these things made, this time with a 90-degree angle, for mounting the computer. This one's super hard, solid mounted. This one, super soft mounted. Like it was from the factory. So this kind of stuff is what we usually don't show in the videos. Now that we're doing more detailed videos, we show all the steps and stuff like this. So I made these brackets just to mount the computer, but I mean, predictably, it's too floppy because they're just little rubber mounts. There's a few ways I could solve that, but I think what I'm gonna do is make another bracket like one of those, but that bolts onto the carburetor here. Because it'll still be rubber mounted and soft on both ends. It won't break the carburetor. And there happens to be an empty casting right here that's already about the right size for a 6mm bolt. So I'll just drill and tap that hole, make a little tab that'll just bolt on there with one little bolt, because all it has to do is keep this from jiggling too much. Success! Nothing like a bendy magnet on a stick to save the day when you drop your tap into your clutch hole. Is it perfectly lined up? No. Is it nice and sharp to stab your fingers on? Yes. Doing more wiring again, because I should have done this wiring when I did the rest of it, but I just kind of put it off to the side. This is the handlebar switch that had all the stuff on it. Now, obviously the easy solution would have been to just bolt that handlebar switch somewhere and use all of its switches, but I never do the easiest solution. Anyway, I didn't like the way it looked, and I wanted to delete some of it, so I already deleted the reverse override thing. These ATVs have a thing where you have to hold down a button to be able to get more than a few RPMs in reverse. It's just a safety feature so you don't yeet too hard going backward. The funny thing is, if you look at all these wires, they're all super big heavy gauge wires going up to the switches. The wires feeding them are super tiny. This wire here, I've already cut it to rearrange it, but this is the main power wire going to this switch, and that powers a lot of things. So it's just kind of funny, they go from skinny gauge to thick gauge here. And I think the thick stuff is just because this is on the handlebars where it moves a lot, so it's less likely to break, but it's still funny that this teeny little wire is supplying power for all of these fat ones. We're going on an adventure! Over the phaser and through the projects, to the scrap wire box we go! Move some brand new wheels in a box, and a snowmobile cover in a box. Look at all this wire. Ho! Yeah, if everyone uses that clip, that's gonna be embarrassing. Found some wires. I think these are pieces from the Haltech wiring loom from the 2JZ mower. That's what it looks like to me. But they'll be the perfect length and the right colors. See, if you put your hand behind here, then your hand is the first thing you drill before you get to the wires. Safety third. I don't have all the switches for this yet, and I also don't have the starter button. But what I do have is a starter button on the cop car Power Wheels out in the shed, which is currently broken due to wiring issues.
So, I had to turn the camera around because we're doing this awesome giveaway of this CNC plasma cutting robot. It is excellent. And we're even giving away the plasma cutter that runs it. Every $5 you spend in the merch store gets you an entry. You could get one of these awesome magnetic koozies that stick to the electrode. Or you could get one of these amazing bottle openers that Ethan is going to hand make in a very limited quantity.
Or you could even get Ethan, or at least what he's wearing at the moment. This is seriously like our sickest design ever.
That's pretty good.
It's so cool. Look at that.
But it's super sick.
With the gas tank. I love the crown.
That's perfect. You can even get these beanies. We probably still have these in stock. They're
A few. I honestly think things are going to sell out quick. We have a super limited quantity on this one, guys. So head over there right now and get yourself...
Oh, this one doesn't quite work yet. It's not fully done. This one's not all the way done.
Yeah, that's a prototype. Oh no. Look at that. Isn't that just gonna look... That looks just beautiful right there. Engine start. This really just pleases my symmetry OCD. I actually really enjoy wiring. Maybe it's because it's something I don't do as much, like, you know, it's something new. Maybe it's the OCD of like making it look all nice and pretty. I don't know. It's fun. I used to be afraid of it and like therefore kind of hate it, but now that I've wired a few engines from scratch with custom ECUs, it's a lot less intimidating to just rewire a thing that already exists. If you do wiring ever, and you don't already have some, go find yourself some heat shrink that has glue built into it. 3-to-1 double wall adhesive heat shrink tubing. Yeah, so double wall adhesive heat shrink. It's really good stuff because like crimps for connecting wires are only so strong, right? Eventually you could just pull the wires out. But if you heat shrink over that with this double wall adhesive heat shrink stuff, it's really a solid connection because then your wires are literally glued to your terminal as well as being crimped. I've got the the starter switch wired up, and it does nothing when the key's off, as it should, or shouldn't. We turn the key on, and now, yeah. And much simpler than the original setup. The way the wiring used to be, you'd have to turn the key on and turn the switch on the handlebars on, and then push the starter button. Now you just have the one, because why have redundant on-off switches? So, in the interest of finishing up all the odds and ends of the wiring here, this dash cluster, I've been looking at where to put it. One idea I had was here, you know, then we cover that up, which is kind of funny to have a speedometer sticker that's stuck at 28 miles an hour. So I'm thinking maybe here actually could work. And that works with the length of wire we have. There's already a hole in that for the wiring to go through. If I could get it on the plug. Through the hole. And then I just have to come up with a mounting situation. Oh yeah. Look at that. Isn't that just pretty? There's the gauge cluster mount bracket all finished. Just got to drill maybe 3 holes in this and in the plastic, and then bolt it in place, and we'll be on our way to gaugeness. I like it. Turn it on. Haha! Look at that. Speed, miles. Look at that, it's even got time. It thinks we're out of gas because I never did hook up the fuel level thing, but yeah, so that's exciting. And before I put the body back on, it's kind of falling apart because my plastic welding attempts failed so hard. So I ordered a new tool to try and make this better, and because of a bunch of comments about this, I didn't know it was a thing. It's called a hot stapler, and it just takes a piece of metal like that, a little squiggly piece of metal, and when you pull the trigger, it runs a bunch of current through it, and it's rather resistive, so it gets really hot really quick. Look at that, red hot. Woo! Anyway, so we can use this to reinforce these panels from the inside. Let it cool for a second. Look at that. And now that panel is much, much sturdier. So I'm gonna put a few of these in here so that when I put this back on, it doesn't keep falling apart, because it's kind of been doing that lately. That's a win. Man, if only I'd known about this thing when I started this process. That over. And, wow. Man, this is coming together so nice. Look at that. That looks really minty. The body's back on. It needs a little bit of a cleaning. It's all dusty and dirty. Check this out. This panel still fits just as tight and awkwardly as it did before, but
Wow, that was a pretty minty fitment though, right?
yeah,
there.
look at that.
Like right in.
Look at that fitment. Covers up all the fuel pump, the wiring, everything's all covered up, and the gas cap is just right there for your fill-ups. Yeah, and the body's getting more and more stable too with each thing that gets added on. Wow. Like, this front part is super sturdy now without even actually being attached to anything. I have a couple of holes to mount it to the front so this doesn't flop, but yeah. It's looking... You what?
I want to say this is one of the most complete interiors.
It is. Oh, it's by far the most complete interior, yeah.